So here's a fun little project I gave myself while in lockdown. I wanted to create the Torchwood hub, and I wanted to approach it like a playset for younger people, which is ironic obviously because it's like a 15 to 18 show for grown-ups. As you can see, it's pretty big. So big that I can't really get a clean picture of my lightbox. But luckily, because of how it works, it splits up into modules, and I'm going to be reviewing each bit one at a time. This first section is dedicated mostly to Tashas' computer terminal. She's got a spinning chair, she's got 2 little computer screens and a keyboard which can all be like adjusted and rotated. It makes it a bit more kind of playable. My main thing with this was to give as many play features as possible. It was just a fun little sort of experiment for me. On the left we've got a coffee machine which is perfect for Yanto, and pizza also plays such a big part of those early seasons that I kind of had to slip it in wherever I could. On the right, something I'm particularly pleased with is the Doctor's hand as it fell off in the Christmas invasion. It was surprisingly a lot more pieces than I expected it was going to be. I was hoping I'd be able to fit a tiny minifig hand inside a little cylinder piece, but unfortunately not. So it's a lot like bulkier than you would expect. Like if you put it next to a regular minifigure, it's definitely like not to scale in the way that it is in the show, but I just think it's a fun little, it's a fun build, so it's fun to make, and to be honest, like I say, this is a playable set, so it's not going really for realism, it's more for the fun that you have building it and the fun that you have playing with it. Next up, we've got one of the bigger elements of the set. It's kind of the conference room at the top there, and down on the lower level you've got an armory. We have an array of guns here, lots of Jack's pistol, because I imagine he gets himself through quite a lot of them, some regular sort of Torchwood standard guns, and this kind of weird staff spike thing on the left, which I have down as like alien tech, because they like to collect that as well. And as a play feature, you rotate this platform to reveal a Cyberman. I was originally thinking of building a Cyberwoman based on the Series 1 episode, and this is kind of riffing off of that, but unfortunately I just don't have the pieces to make it work. And I thought, you know, a Cyberman by itself is a fun play feature. As we go up, I designed these cool little lamps that hang down. They don't do anything, but I think they just add to it and you know, just create a fun scene. Further up, we have some banisters to keep people from falling off, although there's not actually any space for minifigs to be placed there because of how kind of shallow the plates are. And then right at the top, we have our Terra Dom pterodactyl, whose fate is still a mystery. I'm assuming they just got blown up at the beginning of Series 3, which is very sad. I got this from the Jurassic World sets. It's got fairly limited articulation, so I can't make it like sit down very well. So I went to a lot of effort to make sure that there was space for it to balance quite nicely on that roof. And just make it look a bit more relaxed, so it's not always in flight mode. And behind it, we have a little egg. I mean, this has got nothing to do with any Torchwood lore. I just thought it would be a fun little hidden feature. As you can see, we've got these bar pieces along here, so you have the option to have it sort of resting at the back like it was before, or if you want to have it more in flight mode, maybe attacking different members of the team because they have barbecue sauce on them, and you can put it at the end there and it gives it a fun little action pose. You can have it swooping down on them. And at the back of this little module, you've got a very small, very modest conference room. You definitely have a lot more seats in. If you were making this more accurate, you'd have a screen there as well, but I think the window frames and the obviously the wooden table and the chairs on either side kind of help paint that picture. Like I mentioned before, pizza plays a big part. I've got a beer bottle because they're not, you know, because it's grown up, so they're allowed booze, and also some tea. Here we have the main kind of hatch door to the hub. I'm very happy with how it looks, but not so much how it operates, because in the show it rotates to the side, whereas here I just didn't really have room for it, and because of how I wanted the hub to operate with buildings on either side, it just wasn't going to work. There is obviously some movement, so you know you can spin this without it falling off easily. That's quite secured in there. This plate section is secured in by these two little plates. So you can have a bit of fun pretending that's rotating. And it does actually open, it's just the wrong way. So this actually comes up like this to reveal the entrance. There should also be cage doors on either side as well, but again, I just didn't have the space, and I kind of wanted to limit the number of parts I was using. This is kind of definitely like one of your kind of higher end play sets with the amount of pieces I've used, but I still kind of wanted to make it feasible in this imaginary world where the Torchwood IP isn't kind of cursed as far as Lego is concerned. There's even a little space at the back just for characters to stand before entering the hub. You've got a keypad there, just a little pipe leading into the wall, probably feeding some kind of electricity or water or just general things. It makes it busy, it gives it a bit of texture, and you know, it makes it more interesting to look at, basically. I've also used, I would like to say, an interesting technique. It's something that I've come across by myself. These little rounded cylinder pieces can fit on top of studs. So these bricks are facing this way up whilst everything else is upside down. It's kind of built on top of each other. The main purpose of this is so that we can get this circular shape. So hold on, if I move this up, you get this proper kind of circular hole. It just best represents the space for this hatch to be placed. One of the maybe more standard sections, there aren't really any fancy play features here. It's just the Torchwood sofa and the curved white wall behind it. This can be adjusted accordingly just so you can get it to kind of fit how you like, but beyond that there's no real play features. You've got a little jumper tile there for you to place a bottle. Again, very heavily indicated that that's boozy, but beyond that, nothing particularly fancy. This sofa took me really ages to build. It's a lot more kind of needlessly complicated than it really needed to be, but if you like move some of these bricks to one side, you get an idea of some of the kind of toiling that I was doing there. I probably didn't need to go to that level, but you know, because I was winging it, I didn't have any like plans in place with this. I just wanted to experiment and see what I could do with it. But I'm telling you now, don't ask me to make it again, because I honestly can't remember how I did it. Here is the metallic spire that features in the center of the hub. I wanted to make sure that this was the tallest module, the most impressive looking, and it is if you don't count the Terra Dom that's sitting on top of the conference room. There's some indication of water running underneath, and if you take off this piece, which is pretty easy to do, it's only held in by two studs, and remove this section, which you're not really supposed to do. I've already taken off a couple of pieces there, but as you can see, I have basically gone to great effort here to sort of simulate a kind of fountain to be running underneath this whole structure, which you're not going to be able to see. So it is very pointless, and it's a silly use of pieces, but I kind of enjoy doing it. With the tower itself, I used a variety of pieces. I didn't want to just use like a metallic grate piece for the whole thing, because I wanted to give it a bit of texture, and also because I didn't have enough. You have transparent blue pieces to indicate water running down it, which is probably quite dangerous actually, because there's a feature here where this section opens up to reveal the little component here that Yanto and Owen remove at the end of the first series, and that can be taken out. Believe it or not, it takes a little bit of work because my hands are a bit bigger than that of a child's. There we go. It's not particularly a fancy play feature, but it's just something to give it a little flair. And finally we have the Torchwood lift. I'm not particularly happy with how it looks, again because I'm going for playability over anything else, but you've got a little section here so you can actually lift it up along these sections here. So there we go, all the way up and all the way down again. There is almost certainly a better way of going about this, and since building this and since releasing these images, I think I've come up with a better idea of how to do it. but I kind of want to move on to my next project at this point. So, you know, maybe one day if I ever come back to doing a Lego hub, I might sort of tweak it a little bit. Underneath, I've put some extra detail. This is actually the sort of the middle of a car wheel, and underneath we have something for it to kind of not like click into, but rest on top of, because I didn't want it to be too difficult to actually lift it up once it was sort of placed down. I've not actually utilized this piece in the way I should. I just wanted to use a brick that kind of gave it a little bit more detail, so it's not just plain grey. Even at the back we have an extra kind of pipe, which you're not going to see for the most part when you're playing with it, but it just gives it a fun extra element. The minifigures that I used for the team here are almost all used from existing Lego pieces. I can't tell you exactly where everything's come from. I know that Yanto's using Chandler's face from the Friends set. Captain Jack there has got Joey's face from the same set, and it's just a mishmash of existing pieces I have. Now, Captain Jack's body is where we move into kind of custom stuff, because you can't really replicate that with existing Lego bodies. So I've actually got a custom Captain Jack figure that I bought from a seller, which I can't find anymore, which is very unfortunate. His vortex manipulator can be found on firestartoys.com. If you type in watch, I just thought that was a fun feature. It's an accessory that Lego don't make, so it is not technically a Lego piece. I just think it kind of completes the figure there. Now, I've had a few requests to put this onto Lego Ideas, and whilst I would love the thought of doing that, firstly, I'm not sure if it's good enough, but also the main thing really is that it's not considered a viable IP, because Torchwood is a very grown-up show, and I think Stranger Things is probably the most adult they've gone. But I really hope you've enjoyed this set. I hope you like the box art. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you think you could improve it, what sections you'd add, any more play features, and anything you think generally I've missed, because I love to learn. I think I'm still a bit of a novice when it comes to building fun little mocks like these, so any advice, I do appreciate it immensely. I hope you're all having a tolerable day, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, stay safe.